Welcome,
Welcome
welcome to a sit-in
with the
Lampshades podcast, live podcast,
live
every 8 p.m. every day,
Monday through Sunday.
7 days a week. I gotta keep remembering about that.
Hey. This is live. We just have some backfeed.
Goodness. Okay, as we set up here. All right. Okay, so what do you want to talk about? Let me
Want to welcome everybody to the podcast. It's live. Hey, right. People just jumping on as they funnel through in. Welcome to the podcast.
I think because they recognize that we're doing this every single day at the same time. There's consistency.
Yes, consistency
along here. We do want to let you know that
wow, it's bustling today.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Of course,
this is live.
Just to let you know, on the 15th, I have personal business to do, and Priest Most High Lucifer D. Lambew, he will be facilitating the podcast for the 15th, 8 p.m. For the hour of the 15th, 8 p.m. That'll be on a Tuesday. But Monday, both of us, and today, obviously, both of us. But just to let you know, again, on the 15th, it'll just be Priest Most High Lucifer D. Lambew. But the podcast will continue every single day. Y'all willing? Marching up to the Great Tribulation.
Speaking of the 15th, that date is actually a very important date. That's the date that North Korea has said that it's going to bomb Guam, or at least that's what the reporting is so far.
Well, they said they're gonna show a sign of force on the 15th, which is shooting 4 missiles off the coast of Guam. Now, we still have no idea how President Trump is going to respond to such a thing, but that's what's being talked about as of right now.
Yeah, so tensions are running high, and at any moment. Now you got to understand too that there's a good possibility, since a lot of the strategies have been going on and being told online. Notice how Trump said before, when Obama was the president, that he didn't know why Obama always told his plans, right? Why let his plans be told about what he's going to do, and then wonder why everybody wasn't prepared for it. Well, as much as Trump is saying that, he's doing the exact same thing. He's having people come out, like Jeff Sessions, different Homeland Security people, and different people from Congress, different pundits basically to him, coming out saying and pushing the theology of the first strike, saying that there really is no 100% foolproof plan against nuclear strike from any country, because their THAAD system really doesn't work. I mean, it can work like 50% of the time, but it only has to miss one in order to forever change the scope of this country. So the only way to really, they're secretly pushing, but overtly a little bit too, is a pre-strike to hit the country before it has the ability to shoot the nukes off. And so with that being pushed into the stratosphere, into the mentality of America, it's very possible that he could go and try to do that pre-strike any day now, before even the 15th.
But of course, pre-striking North Korea is a bad idea. I mean, there's no real good idea, but that's the worst idea. Because if you pre-strike North Korea, you're going to bring in China, you're going to bring in Russia, you're going to bring in all your enemies, because if you could do it to them, then you could do it to any one of them. And so their mutual defense pact is not going to allow them to just sit back and let North Korea be taken out. And I think actually even China actually did let the United States know that if North Korea strikes first, then they'll sit back and relax. But if North Korea is pre-struck by America, they're not going to pull them into the conflict.
Most definitely. Uh, so you got a lot of different people across the net, a lot of different ulterior media weighing in on the conflict. Again, right now you have people who have the audacity to believe that everything's absolutely fine. They ain't gonna believe what's really gonna happen until it comes crashing on their heads. Again, if word comes out that Guam's been struck, if word, they also having rumors that the real targets could be Chicago, targets could be Washington. You know, if you looked at the video where Trump was basically threatening North Korea, his arms were crossed, which showed that he just really defiant, really boxed in, in that Washington bubble type of deal.
With his arms crossed, kind of made him look like a big baby, too.
Big old baby.
A big, angry baby that is not getting his way.
Exactly.
And that's what America's been like for the last couple of years, man. They want oil. They enter Iraq, claiming that Iraq has something to do with 9/11, which it didn't. They want gold or whatever. They want resources, and they're utilizing their military in order to give them the ability to go into these smaller countries and rape, murder, and take what they want.
And loot, basically. Just one big loot.
And we know that they don't want anyone to challenge their petrodollar, which Russia and China is trying to do. So they're trying to utilize Kim Jong-un to facilitate bringing in the world powers and stopping them from going against the petrodollar, which without war, there's no way to stop them from doing it.
Now, of course, remember, Israel, this is your podcast. This is your live sit down with the lampshades. Make sure that if you have any questions concerning the material, if you have any questions that could range from anything from what's going on in your life, to political, social, economic, whatever, make sure that you post those comments up and ask those comments because, again, this is your podcast. And it's your responsibility to make your voices heard and make sure that that's happening. Okay.
And it's good to do that early rather than late. I mean, because the pattern that we've noticed is that a lot of people will come into the podcast just before it ends,
just before they think it ends.
Yeah,
and then the podcast really could end, at any time. I mean, we don't have a set end. We have a set beginning so far, but we don't have necessarily a set end. So it really can end any time, and you want to make sure that if you have questions or if you have things that are going on that you want more insight or you want to make some statements or whatever or not, that you do that early.
Yeah. Make your
voices heard.
That way, early. That way, we can answer your questions and address what it is that you want to be addressed prior to the close of the podcast. But again, hopefully people will begin to ask questions earlier.
Yeah, most definitely. And also to our new subscribers, new viewers and whatever not, make sure to, if you haven't subscribed already, for you guys who are new, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, our main channel is Sakuma08. Make sure to subscribe there as well. For first dibs on new content. We have a wide range of content on our sites. Content that includes end times current events, the word of Yah. Well, end time current events, which is dealing with the social economic collapse that's coming. We got the word of the Most High Yah, which is dealing with Bible studies. Also, we got the Bible study series that's hosted by Priest of Most High Lambew. That deals with the scriptures and answers the critical questions that you're not going to get answered nowhere else. Is hell real? Certain things like that. The color of the Israelites in scripture, so forth, so forth. Also, we have stuff like the Lampshade season 1 through 7, which is our outdoor street ministry. All on the main site, Sakuma08. And the backup site, Lucifer Lambew, on YouTube. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe.
Also, just to get into what's going on right now, if you haven't heard about the Charleston incident.
Yeah, Virginia. Yeah. Virginia riots are, and then it went had a car crash on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Terrorists.
Yeah.
Domestic terrorism.
Yeah. Like I was saying, the Charleston incident, in which there had a white nationalist protest going on, in which the white nationalist was basically marching down Charleston.
Skinheads, KKK,
Yeah, the like of the group,
that stuff.
and they
The
had
alt-right.
they had a counter protest. Basically, these people who come up and they protesting whatever you're protesting.
Patifa,
but they're
alt left, basically.
Yeah, but they're protesting the protesters. And so as obviously it's a recipe for disaster, right? I mean, who thinks of these things? If somebody wants to protest, I mean, of course, Israel, we shouldn't have nothing to do with all that. I mean, we don't protest this government. We pray to the Most High for correction, pray for the Most High for judgment,
That's right.
Pray for the Most High for redemption. So we put our faith and our trust in the Most High to hear our prayers and guide us through.
That's right.
But these heathens and the lost Israel, the black America, they want to put their gripes to their public officials. Now, again, like I was saying, these alt-right want to do a protest. But the silly thing is, if these alt-right want to protest, or if they want to do a march, or if they want to do their propaganda, oh, fucking well, man. Words don't hurt nobody, generally, right? There's no real point to organizing a counter-protest just because these niggas are using their supposed First Amendment speech. Now all of a sudden you want to remember your First Amendment speech against them. And you don't think there's going to be chaos. You don't think there's going to be a riot. You don't think there's going to be violence. Those kind of protesters should have did their protest before the alt-right did theirs or after the alt-right did theirs, man. That way both the groups could have said what the fuck they wanted to say without having to clash. But you got these people who are getting organized by these organizations, faceless organizations,
George Soros,
who are most likely paying both sides and organizing both sides, bringing both sides into the middle so they can create conflict. And these dummies are just
falling
right into this shit, dude. You didn't see what happened in Lebanon. You didn't see what happened in Ukraine. You didn't see what happened in all these third world countries when George Soros went in there, funded both sides of a conflict,
Arab Spring,
and sat back and watched them fucking kill each other. You didn't realize that those same tactics were being done in America with the Bloods and the Crips, how the government would fund them both with weapons and drugs and sit back and watch them kill each other. And now you're allowing them to do the same old dumbass tricks when it comes to Charleston, when it comes to protests. They fund one protest, and then they fund an anti-protest to the original protest.
Republicans and Democrats.
And sit back and watch them kill each other, man. I mean, you didn't think that the better plan would be to sit the fuck out and let them do whatever they're going to do, and then you organize yourselves a day before or a day later? Shit, man, let them speak, and they'll let you speak.
Well, what they're doing is they're using the Constitution against the Constitution. Right?
Yeah.
They're using free speech against somebody else's free speech, and then throwing in a big wad of violence, so that ultimately the only thing, problem, reaction, solution, and the only thing that they can possibly do at that point is just to negate everybody's free speech. Because, of course, one free speech ain't more important or more indicative than another free speech. They had the police coming in there. Martial law was declared as they're practicing being able to convince the American people that martial law is a good thing, that it's that it's a useful tool for the local police to be able to, and the local mayor to be able to call martial law, and all of a sudden your rights don't white America's rights don't work quite the same in martial law. You don't got no rights. See, Black America, we already know we ain't got no rights. White America's still figuring that out. Black America should already know after all the deaths in police custody, our children being shot by unarmed police dogs, by our people coming up just in a drive with the local cops All of a sudden now their necks broke and they're paraplegic. They can't walk anymore. So we already know that we have no rights here in this country. It's Esau, the Edomites, the subcon white man, white America, that's still figuring out that the plan is for them not to have any rights either. And that's the whole deal when it comes to martial law. But again, if they push martial law with this Virginia thing, that was nothing more than some dude running into people. I believe one person died of the car attack. Two police officers died in an airplane crash that took their lives, probably having nothing to even fucking to do with the car crash. Okay. Now remember, they got police that were brought to court because not in this country, I don't believe, but because they were filming people engaged in swinger activity, shall we say? You know, so now you got these two police officers in an airplane crash. Wonder what they were up to. I guess we'll probably find out y'all will later. I mean, you know, somebody probably blow the whistle on what they were doing that would cause them to all of a sudden crash. And there's a lot of planes going over, jets going over in the last few days because of the whole Trump issue with North Korea.
Now, don't get it twisted. I mean, there's something about seeing Edomites killing each other, you know, that is reminiscent of what happened in ancient Israel when it comes to fighting our enemies, and the Most High putting a spirit in the midst of them, causing them to attack one another, causing them to destroy one another. You know, so there's something about seeing Edomites, taking it to each other with no regard to health and their brotherhood. I mean, you know, all these years with black on black crime, shots in the ghetto, black people killing each other, and all the other nations sitting back, laughing or rejoicing in our confusion and our disillusion, and you know, and in us, you know, fighting each other. It's something strangely, I don't know, I mean, for lack of better words, something, you know, pleasing to see our enemies having that same, going through those same curses that we had to go through these 400 years.
Well, let me not necessarily.
I'm just saying my own personal opinion, praise be to God. You know, one thing about it has been truth and honesty. You know, looking at these Edomites finally breaking down and going against each other, and realizing that the Most High is putting the spirit of enmity, as He said He would do, to our enemies. Seeing that the curses are lifting from Israel and starting to move upon our enemies. You know, praise be to God. Now, you know, that's it's pleasing to see the word of the Lord come to bear. You know, it's pleasing to see the letters, the words that are written in the Bible come to life in a way that it actually impacts the very lives that we are living. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm happy to see the white man's blood on his own hands, but I'm saying that I'm happy to see the word of the Lord be, you know, proven, shown, seen. I mean, experienced in a real life way. I mean, you don't know how many times we've talked to Edomites with their delusion, thinking that nothing's wrong, that the sun will come out the next day, that things will turn around because they're white, and everything's gonna be going well because they're white. I mean, you don't know how frustrating it is trying to you know, let them know that the scriptures are predicting death and destruction to Edom, and them just basically laughing it off as if, yeah, right, nigga. And then to see, you know, the Most High in the Spirit causing madness to come upon these Edomites to the point where they're fighting each other to the death, and we're just sitting back watching it on the news like, ooh, that looked like that hurt. I mean, it's blessed, man. It's like if this is happening, then surely the other things the Most High said in His Word is going to come to pass too. if the curses of Israel is being put onto these heathens, then surely the redemption of Israel is coming too. If the destruction of Esau's kingdom is happening, then surely the rising up of Jacob's kingdom is going to happen as well. And that's all I'm saying. Praise be. It is something about seeing the word of the Lord manifesting from the spirit into the flesh and realizing that if that manifested, then surely the promises, surely the rewards, surely the gifts, surely the love that the Most High expressed in His word for Israel will come to pass too, man. And so it gives me hope. It strengthens my faith, seeing that what the Most High said was going to come to the other nations are actually indeed coming to the other nations, and that goes along with the earthquakes and the typhoons and the superstorms and the flash floods, and all the other stuff the Most High has stated in His word that will come to pass in the later days, and seeing it actually happening before my eyes, realizing that yes, indeed, we are that generation. I mean, it's not fear, but it's joy to know that the Most High's word is true, and every man who speaks against or outside of this word is a liar.
Yeah, yeah. Also notice that 3 white people died. 3 white people are dead on that day, and no mention of white on white crime.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? No mention. No white on white crime. No white thugs. Right? No thugs. Matter of fact, you would think that it was just a natural occurrence. Not even worth raising an eyebrow about. The way they cover their own, battle royales in the streets versus the way they cover so-called Negroes in the ghetto somewhere is stark. It's stark, and it's on full display. You got them already. Some people whispering domestic terrorism, while you got other people trying to scream, "Well, it's not." I do believe I heard one of the media people was trying to say that it might be a mechanical error with the car. That this guy could have had a mechanical error, and it could have been an accident.
Yeah,
it's interesting how they already some elements of white America is already trying to drop the seeds of his defense. Right? They're already trying to drop seeds, and I don't quite know how much of an accident it could be when he plows into all these people, and then he puts his foot on the retreat, on the reverse, and starts peeling away. I mean, that
not gonna do some more people.
That don't scream, oops, I did it again. I guess I don't know, but that don't scream mistake. Now apparently this guy was part of the alt-right
theology,
which is basically white nationalism,
white supremacy. Come on, it's KKK with a new name,
basically. And so they're getting a lot of heat for that. Also, the president said a very ambiguous type of "we're with you," and there's hate on all sides. Even though it's the left or whatever that's sitting there bleeding on the sidewalk that was attacked with a car. The same type of attack that you get if they were trying to push with terrorism with some Middle Eastern person. Now it seems like Esau, thinks those tactics of using cars and whatever not
a good idea.
It's a good idea. So life imitates art, art imitates life, right? I mean, they were setting that up for the Middle Eastern boogeyman, and now the very same people, the Edomites, who were saying how much Islam was terrible because of their non-caring of human life, that Islam was terrible because of their jihad and their attacks or whatever, and what they call cowardice attacks. Now they're aside from blowing themselves up, they're using the same cowardly maneuvers that they were claiming with the big bad boogeyman, Muslim extremist terrorist brotherhood.
Same tactics.
Now they're using cars, and they're not using it. I mean, they're using it to pile into each other. They used it. One white man, right, so-called self-proclaimed white man, used his car to kill a white woman. and injured countless others, right? So while they're sitting here fighting America, 80 wars or more overseas, while they're threatening Kim Jong-un in North Korea, while they're threatening Russia over Ukraine, while they're threatening China over supposedly bad trade deals and manipulating the market and whatever, whatnot, while they're threatening Venezuela with military action, right? You know, and they're still talking about ISIS and Taliban, and there's no evil foe, supposedly evil foe of America actually has died. Everybody's just waiting in the wings to be pulled out whenever they need a new boogeyman in order to take more of your rights away. But with all those things going on, they still have the time to be battling it out in the American streets against left versus right, one white man versus another white man on ideological differences, and it's like what the scriptures say: a house dividing itself can't stand. All this stuff going on, somebody's gonna drop something.
You know, it's interesting because no one seems to notice that the white man is going against the white man. Edomites are going against Edomites on the lieu of war with North Korea, on the lieu with war with China because of South China Sea incidents, on the lieu with war with Russia because of Ukraine and other things. And of course, the conflict with Iran over Trump saying Iran is breaking the spiritual understanding, whatever that means, of their agreement, though they're not breaking it literally. All right. So, and don't even forget the fact that Trump is now even saying that he's planning or he's thinking about military options against Venezuela if he didn't have enough on his plate. If he didn't have enough with North Korea, China, and Russia, now he wants to threaten Venezuela,
which is going to push Venezuela over to Russia, China, North Korea, and the BRICS, basically. So more enemies multiply.
So as you can clearly see, all this is happening on the lieu of these wars that are about to begin, and now the so-called white man wants to fight themselves. And you don't realize that this is from the Most High? Nobody starts infighting right before a major conflict is about to begin. What's the point of putting a FAD system in North Korea if you're fighting in the capital of Washington?
That's right.
Right? There's no point in planning a nuclear strike against North Korea if you can't even keep your citizens from grabbing each other by the neck. No one's going to win a war when you're fighting it externally and fighting an additional war internally.
Yeah, you're on the brink of civil war, and you're also threatening all these nations. That got to be a big mistake.
Yeah, that it just even from a tactical perspective.
Yeah,
that's obviously he's tripping. Either you fix the problems in America, right? You have to fix those problems prior to trying to start a war with somebody else. Make sure the people that you have in your own country are satisfied before you're talking about taking it to Kim Jong-un or whatever, and whomever the fuck else out there. So that's, it's obvious that this spirit of division, yet a spirit of aggression that is coming upon America, is from the Most High. He's the one, getting these people to be aggressive amongst themselves. He's the one putting that spirit of division, the spirit of chaos, while at the same time putting that spirit of a desire to go to war, man. Who goes to war fighting themselves? And so if you don't realize that, and the fact that this is all happening days away from the solar eclipse that we've been personally,
no surprise,
preaching about being the sign for great tribulation, the 7-year tribulation, which again, that comes from Lambew's ministry. I don't hear that myself from any of the other camps. Even Most High put it in this ministry to be preaching out from day one that the solar eclipse coming would be the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, and is not by an accident that all these nations are gearing up for war, while at the same time America is warring amongst themselves. What does that tell you? That tells you that the great tribulation, the worldwide tribulation, is about to break up, man. It's about to start. And it is not a coincidence that the solar eclipse is only, what, 8 days away? Is the 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the 21st, so it's 8 days away. Soon, tomorrow will be 7 days away, right? So this is coming from the Lord, man. So Israel, being a spiritual people, we need to come back to the Most High in spirit and in truth. We need to be, praying. We need to be come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. We need to be, just cleaning out the stuff that our lives that isn't pleasing unto the Lord, so that we can be ready for when this great tribulation comes. Because this great tribulation is not necessarily just about the physical problems, food, water, war, whatever. It's also a spiritual tribulation as well, man. Niggas being caught up in, who are breaking the law, statutes, and commandments and thinking no one seeth me. And now all of a sudden the Most High is bringing the judgment towards it, right? So it's going to be a spiritual battle as well, with this great tribulation.
It is a spiritual battle.
Yeah, both physical and spiritual. And so we need to prepare not just in the physical, but in the spiritual as well, which is coming back to the Most High in spirit and truth.
Come on, everybody. Don't you all ask questions all at the same time. Also, feel free to just say what's up. Feel free to announce yourself, so that we know the names of the people that are chilling, watching,
That are here.
Yeah, that are here.
We see the number of viewers, but it doesn't tell us who those viewers are. So it will be a good thing if you guys would chime in and say, "Hey,
we appreciate it.
How you guys doing?" Just the common, how are you?
Common courtesy.
Common courtesy. I mean, we
then introduce themselves.
Yeah, we definitely tell you guys, welcome to the podcast, welcome to Lampshade sitting with the Lampshades. We tell you guys welcome. So it'd be good just to let us know that you guys are here. So that's a good thing. Also, just to let you guys know, we do these 8 p.m. podcasts every single day. For now, marching to the sign of the Great Tribulation.
Yeah, we're counting down
August 21st.
To August 21st, and then we'll be counting down to the 23rd of the next month. So then we'll be counting down to
whatever.
Y'all willing to the first of the next month.
We're gonna continue to do this until the Most High pulls us out or
tells us otherwise.
Praise be to Yah. It is a good thing. Like, again, the Most High has been giving Lampshade's ministry more and more venues to push out His truth, both in the streets, also in the numerous of series that we're doing, different shows and so forth and so on.
While we wait for you guys to have questions, we do have a question for all of you out there and on the internet land. We have a good question for you guys. What do you guys think is going on, and do you guys have any thoughts about what's going on when it comes to war with North Korea?
Okay, just nice to see you, Boo Boo. And
welcome back, Boo Boo.
And welcome, Jacob's Trouble. This is what we're talking about. We love it when people announce themselves so that we know who's actually a part of this podcast. And we appreciate you guys letting us know. Well, Boo Boo says, Shalom, explain the importance of fasting for the Most High before these end times brought. And Jacob's Trouble just says, Shalom, Jacob's Trouble, to let us know that he's part of the crew.
All right, great.
We're great. We're happy to see you guys, and we're thankful to the Most High for bringing our brothers in this truth to gather with us in this podcast. And before we go into the importance of fasting, let me first let the people who are with us in this live podcast let me let you know something. We thank the Lord for bringing our brethren to gather with us, even on the internet, in the spirit and the spirit of the Lord. Because with two or more come together, surely He is Most High is in the midst. So we were thankful that our brethren, takes the time to gather with us on a daily basis to to seek the Lord in spirit and in truth. It's important. There's a lot of people who watch our series, our different Bible studies, videos, and so forth and so on, and never feel the need to actually converse with us in real time, to actually ask questions in real time.
I don't think they really had an opportunity to before this live podcast came on.
Yeah, but just to say, it is here now. We have over, I know, on my side, we have over 700 subscribers on Lucifer Lambew side. He has almost 4,000 subscribers, and but yet on the podcast, on the live podcast, there's 7 viewers.
Well,
so it is something to say for those who the Most High puts in their spirit to actually fellowship with the man of God, and it is a blessing for those who come together and come together with the Lampshade ministry, with the men of the Lord, in order to talk about the Lord's business.
And as always, it isn't about the numbers.
No,
but
that goes to show
you can have a real live a conversation, because this is live. You can have a real live and truthful conversation with 2 or 3 people. Remember, it said, "With 2 or more gathered in the midst." It was 2 more gathered together in His name. So it only really takes 2 or more to really get things jumping off. And of course, we know that when those government forces are kicking in your door, talking about take the chip or die, there's going to be a whole lot more interest about people talking about what's going on.
It even says in the word that they'll be searching from town to town for a man of God in that day.
Exactly.
And they'll ask the people of the town, has a man of God walked through here? And they'll say no. I mean, so it is a note that our brethren who do participate in these podcasts with us versus all those other ones who for whatever reason decide not to. So,
but again too, also in addition to that, it's the exercise of faith, right? That's what we're doing right now, O Israel. We're exercising our faith. Because right now you may see in the comment section 1 or 2 people talking, or 1 or 2 people saying something or whatever, whatnot. But just know it's gonna come a day where there's like hundreds, thousands of people that are listening to the men of God, maybe even more than that are hanging on each and every word, because the Most High has lifted them up and have and the scepter of power has been given. And with all the stuff that's coming down the pipe that's happening in small pockets, but soon to be happening all over the place, they're going to want to know what to do and how to please the Most High.
Right?
Y'all willing. So this is a dry run. It's a practice for things to come. It is our faith that we're exercising. Right now we're talking to you who are the viewers on this live podcast. But like in all things, you practice to prepare for that next level. There'll come a time, y'all willing, soon come, where the eyeballs and the ears that'll be listening will be in the thousands, hundreds of thousands.
And they'll be all focused on the man of God.
And they'll be focused on the man of God.
Not on musicians, not on actors, not on actresses, not on stars, not on rich people, but on actually the men of God who come in the name of the Lord. I mean,
because check it again. Israel is about to be reestablished soon come. All right? And you can't, a nation's going to all of a sudden wake up. The Most High talking about the gathering that's going to come. There's going to be a lot of people wondering, what comes next and what's to do, how they're going to deal with the most prevalent questions of food, water, shelter, security, all those basic things that you have to answer and deal with when you're talking about a society that is that's sovereign, that's of itself. So just this live broadcast is again a practice, because in this live broadcast we're all coming together. We have people who are asking questions and putting their certain viewpoints out and really moving the conversation. They're getting the practice necessary, because it's going to come down to a point where we're dealing with all of Israel. That's the plan, people. That's the dream, soon to be the reality. But we're not doing this on a live podcast. We're actually seeing all of Israel, together, waiting for that, waiting for the orders from our king, to to exit this, you know, and how different that's going to be. It's going to be live, but it's going to be in person, right? So we're practicing, bro. We're getting it together. This is what you do when the actual plan is to separate from these other nations. It's not just in recognizing all the wars and rumors of wars and the chaos on the other side of the aisle with Esau fighting Esau in the streets and running each other over with cars and whatever not. It's not just in recognizing the faults of our enemies, but in coming together within Israel and stepping up to the plate within Israel, right? It's not just ha ha ha. Look at those Edomites fighting each other. It's stepping up and stepping out and practicing the leadership that's going to be necessary and required soon come.
Yeah, that's correct. Now to get to the question of Bobo, in regards to more information about fasting. All right. Now, prior to the Great Tribulation, we've talked about this in previous podcasts. A fast can be done if you're not really used to fasting.
Yeah.
If you're not really used to going there, it would be good to go for 1 day to 3 days, right?
Yeah.
If you can do it 1 day and you can't hold out and got to eat something, then do so. Because remember, we're in record level heat levels. I mean, there's it's like 90 degrees here, on a daily basis. 90 plus degrees. So you shouldn't be trying to do a no eating and no drinking fast during a heat wave
for a sustained amount of time. That would not be a very wise.
That wouldn't be a wise decision, and we wouldn't want to
be responsible
for someone
anybody taking it too far, and in terms of fasting on the heat waves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, man. But nonetheless, though, also now, there's a spiritual and a tactical advantages to fasting in these period of time. If you've never fasted before, it might be a good idea to fast for a day. Take it slow, because you have to look at the fact that, or the possibility that if war jumps off, if martial law jumps off, there may be a period of time where there may be food shortages, there may be water shortages, there may be shortages of amenities. And if you're used to having 3 square meals a day, and it's going to be one physiological shock to your system to be forcibly going through a day without food. I mean, and that's just plausible. If you look at what happened during the flooding, they went 3 days without food, and it was already anarchy in the streets because of that. Now, if those people had been used to fasting or whatnot, 3 days wouldn't have been shit when it comes to not having any food or water. But because they were, they didn't have that aspect of their spiritual walk, they went nuts. So there's a tactical aspect to that. But then, of course, the spiritual one, which is much more better anyway, and that is you're preparing for whatever spiritual battles that's going to be fought when the tribulation begins. So it's a good idea to again practice in preparation for what's to come. Will there come a time where there won't be enough food and water in America? Yes. When will that time be? Who knows? But if you're used to eating 3 square meals a day, and the very thought of skipping a meal is alien to you, then you might want to. It might be tactful for you to want to practice a little bit on going without and sacrificing a meal or two to get used to the feeling of going without food or water. Also for your family too. Again, in limited practice type of scenario. But also it's good to practice, to learn how to fast is important as well. And we've talked about it before. Make sure you start slow. A day, an afternoon, even for those who have never even done it. Maybe you fast for the morning time to the evening time, and you don't eat till dinner. Just 1 day, just to practice and to move your spiritual legs and to work out your spiritual arms and your spirit, right? And then once you get used to that, try a little more. Try the whole day. You know. But again, move at your own pace. But yes, it is wise, and it is with spiritual discernment to begin doing those things, and to get prepared for the spiritual avalanche that's coming, and the physical trials and tribulation that's right on the horizon that we're watching coming into play even right now.
Okay. And also recognize that when it comes to fasting, there's a spiritual element to fasting, of course. You know, putting your body into subjection, the need of food and water. You know, the more you subject your physical body, the more your spiritual man has an ability to come out. You pray more when you need. All right, you pray more when your body is being subject to pains. Your stomach growling and you're feeling faint because you haven't drinking any water. So the more you subject your body, the more your spirit calls out to the Lord, and that's what the Lord wants. The Lord wants you to call out to Him. The Lord wants you to seek Him with all your heart, body, and mind. The Lord wants you to come to Him, and the best way to do so is when you take away the distractions of this life. When you take away the being with your wife, the daytime television, or whatever distractions that are distracting you, and take away the food and the water, and before you know it, you're calling out to the Lord with all your strength, with all your might, and that's the time where your prayers become the strongest. Is during a fast and during a great need, and you come into the Lord. So fasting is a good thing. I'll pray with you. Now, when it comes to the great tribulation, and you want to do your fast, I would suggest you do it while it's voluntary, right?
Yeah,
because
prehab.
if the great tribulation jumps off and the water cuts off, or the war begins, and now food isn't being shipped over to Walmart, and food ain't being shipped over to Walgreens, and now you fasting because you got no food in your refrigerator. It doesn't have the same effect, so to speak. Now you got food, now you got water, and if you want to do a fast now, then that will be a good way in which, again, to come to the Lord in spirit and the truth, and amplify your desire to pray and to seek Him.
And remember, in the first coming out of the first Egypt, the Israelites, our ancestors who came out of Egypt the first time, for 3 days they had no food and no water. And Most High utilized that to try them, to really to humble them. So uh, for those who never fasted before in those times, it was very grueling. Must have been extremely grueling. So much so that they was crying out, and they was already thinking about getting rid of Moses and heading back to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
You see, is it possible that the Most High may humble Israel again in a like fashion? It's very possible. It's very possible. There's nothing new under the sun. The Most High says, look towards our first exodus in order to understand what's going to happen, what could happen here on our second exodus. So you don't want to be one of those people who the thought of not being able to eat and not being able to drink for 3 days, for one day, for 2 days, for whatever the Most High might have it be the case, would be so egregious to you, would be unbearable to you, would cause you to think twice about going back under the subjection of Esau, right? And knowing that these troublesome times are at hand, that they're coming over the horizon, it would make sense that you would do your best to spiritually and physically be prepared in terms of increased prayers, in terms of practicing your fast, in terms of talking with your brothers and whatnot, like we're doing right now, fellowshipping over the possibilities, and again, doing our best to be prepared and dealing with your sins first and foremost, right? Because if you're not, if you have a whole bunch of sin in your life or whatnot, and you're not following the Most High in truth and sincerity, if there's skeletons in your closet and things that you refuse to deal with, then when the trial and tribulation comes, it's much more easier for it to overtake you, because you're not. You need to be prepared spiritually and spiritually first, mentally in every other way as best you can, but spiritually is number one uno for being preparation.
And numero uno.
Numero uno.
And that's what Lampshades Ministries is here to do, man. We're here to warn the children of God to prepare spiritually. See, we ain't no preppers, man. We ain't telling you to get extra rice. We're not telling you to get extra water. We're not telling you to prepare in the carnal way.
No.
Why? Because it's carnal, man.
Exactly.
We're dealing with a spiritual God. We're dealing with the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're not talking about getting extra food and provisions.
Yeah.
These Edomites who are telling their people to get bug out bags and to build bunkers and under the earth and all this other BS, they're doing that because they got no hope, man.
Yep.
We tell you to increase your faith in the Lord and to prepare for the God of Israel. Why? Because he's our God.
Yep.
So we're telling you to prepare spiritually, not carnally.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, I would say if there was one or the other, go all spiritual and forget the carnal, man. It wouldn't matter to me if on the day of the solar eclipse, the sign of the 7-year tribulation, you had no food in your refrigerator. As long as your life had been cleansed, you know, in preparation of the Most High, as long as you had turned away from your sins, as long as you did the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, as long as you came back to the Most High and spiritual and truth, you would have gathered more for yourself in the spirit, than those white people buying those bunkers filled up to the teeth with ammunition and guns and dry food and canteens and all the other stuff that they be prepping with. Your prepping in the spirit would be so much greater than all the money that they put into trying to survive the great calamity that's coming to them.
That's right.
So the spirit is far more superior
than the flesh.
And that's what this podcast that we do every single day is about, man. Talking to the children of Israel, strengthening them in this word and this truth, man. Telling them to prepare their faith and to grow their faith so that when the Most High comes, you got plenty of faith to get you through those tough times. You know, that is making preparations in the spirit. As much as it is for you, it is for us too, man. Doing the work of the Lord is a preparatory of his coming. So that when he comes, he don't see us with our hands empty.
That's right.
Right? When he comes, he don't see us sitting back chilling, you know, and not doing the work of the Lord.
That's right.
That when he comes, he can actually, Yah willing, come and see us doing the work of the Lord, doing the mission that the Lord has given us. So we are preparing for the Lord's coming and doing this work and making ourselves available to the children of God every single day in this form and all the other forms that the Most High has us doing. You know, just like it is your ability to prepare for the day of the Lord, for the Lord's coming, by cleansing your life of wickedness, by fellowshipping with the men of the Most High, by asking questions, by fasting for some of you, right? Some of you may fast, some of you may get on those street corners and start doing the work of the Lord. You know, some of you may be reading those scriptures and making sure you're back to the Lord in spirit and in truth. There's a million and one different ways to prepare for the Lord, but the best ways is to prepare for the Lord in the spirit and not necessarily in the carnality.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question there, Boo Boo. We have you make a statement here saying there are people having dreams and visions concerning the coming destruction in great detail, like if they already lived it. Now, that seems like a reference a little bit to reincarnation of some sort.
Veiled reference,
possibly to reincarnation.
Of course, Lampshades Ministry does not. We don't support the idea of reincarnation.
No. But now talking about people's dreams in terms of the details, prophetically, you know, I mean that's very possible. The Most High had the Egyptians in the first exodus out of Egypt. He had the Egyptians have dreams, and in these dreams, the Most High showed them hell, and he also showed them their coming judgment and why they were going to be judged. So, you know, they got a lot of information from those dreams, which caused them to want to try and control Israel, and wanted to make them try to give them all the gold and whatever that they ultimately did. But the dreams that the Most High gave them and letting them know their soon come future and their hell residence didn't change the fact that they were going to be judged. Didn't change the fact that they did get judged. Didn't change the fact they did die. Didn't change the fact that they did, in fact, go to hell.
See, you call them dreams, but the way it was being described is more like nightmares.
Nightmares and threats.
Yeah.
From the Most High.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Most High is giving them, dreams of hellfire and fury and whatever, whatnot. I mean, is it prophetic? Yeah, because for them, that's exactly what's going to happen. Is it in great detail? Yeah, because the Most High wants to make sure that his enemies, as well as his people, have a clear understanding of what's coming next. He telegraphs his punches. He lets people know that they would not be taken in the snare and die for their sins unaware, right? So, and then there's other Edomites, other nations that are having dreams and whatever, whatnot, that are not talking about their destruction. They're still in a la 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 land that they're going to get raptured. They're still in a la 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 land that somehow they're going to escape the recompense that the Most High has for them. They're given a delusion to prepare them for the strong delusion.
But also you got to remind yourself too that there's this deceiving dreams as well.
Oh yeah,
like some girls who said that they dreamed that JC was white and
blah blah
and blah blase blase blase. So we don't get taken away with dreams, right? Because there's a lot of Edomites saying they had a dream where white people was in heaven. I mean, come on now. I mean,
yeah.
And that JC was white. I mean, so sometimes these people are saying their dreams in order to facilitate their white supremacy or to facilitate their lies in regards to the rapture,
the rapture lie,
or whatever the case may be. So
that's a pre-tribulation rapture lie.
So you got to have a power of discernment. You got to be able to tell the difference between Edomite, heathen horse manure and the truth.
And remember, they can lie. That's why the Most High says use the scriptures as a guide to what's true and what's not.
Not so much dreams and visions. And
exactly,
because unless they match up with the scripture.
Unless they match up with the scripture, because they can definitely try to sell you on a load of smoke. And that's why you got to have discernment. You got to have those eyes that can see.
Yeah, because remember, we're living in the last days, and right in the climax of Jacob's trouble. There's going to be the Most High talks in the scriptures about great deception being across the land. Yes. So, I mean, if it's great deception across the land, then how much more easy would it be to sell you a bowl of manure?
Good, yeah.
Talking about a dream that no one else can verify.
I mean, also look at the landscape. You got Trump who's threatening everybody, but yet when it comes to America, he's still screaming, "We are all one. We are all one." We're not all one. This country is divided, been divided for a very long time. You can't have all these competing interests, these competing nations, and so forth, enemies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like having the Palestinians and the and the Jewish. State of Israel guys, the lion fakes side by side in America, thinking they're gonna be singing their kumbaya. You have all these competing interests, and yet he's Trump's on the stump saying we're all one, we're all gonna be together. I mean, that's that Babylonian hell speak.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to bind with the self-proclaimed white man that of us who have eyes that can see. They're going down. It doesn't make any sense anyway. There are enemies, and that's why you have those so-called black people, Black America, holding hand in hand with them in these protests or whatever, wondering why they're getting ran over too with these cars, right? I mean, they're bonding, as the scriptures say, though they go hand in hand with the wicked won't go without being punished, right? Most High said, "Be ye separate." That means we're not all one, us and these other nations. We're separate unto ourselves, unto Israel, the children of God. That's what's up.
And again, we love your participation here. Thank you for joining us here at the
sit-in with the lampshades. This one was Tock, Esau. Time's running out.
Yeah, So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for fellowshipping with the men of the Most High here at Lampshades Ministry. Praise be to Yah that we're able to have these podcasts that are available to the children of Israel, that they may participate in in these communications. We thank you for your time and hope to see you tomorrow as we go another podcast, another day.
Most definitely. And we look forward to meeting and greeting with you then.
I'm
And
your
fellowshipping.
I'm your host, Priest of Most High, Sakuma Zagami Lambew.
And I'm your host, Priest of Most High, Lucifer D. Lambew, as we get a step closer, of course, to the Great Tribulation.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, and shalom.
Shalom.